You felt it, haven't you? That strange tension in the air. When you walk into a room, people glance at you, but not for long. They speak to you, but their tone feels guarded. They might even label you as rude, too serious, or unapproachable. But deep down, you know the truth. It's not that you're rude, it's that you're different. In a world where people crave validation, you don't need it. In a time where everyone avoids hard truths, you speak them, and that makes people uncomfortable. Why is it that others are so quick to judge personalities like yours? What is it about being authentic, confident, or firm in your beliefs that unsettles people? And most importantly, how does Islam guide us to handle this without compromising who we are? By the end of this video, you'll understand why people react the way they do, how it's tied to the nature of your personality, and what Islam teaches about being misunderstood in a world that often values appearance over substance. The psychology behind it. Here's the thing, when people encounter someone who doesn't fit into their usual mold, it unsettles them. It's not your personality that's the issue. It's how your presence reflects something within them. Your honesty might highlight their insecurities. Your discipline might remind them of their own lack of control. And your confidence might feel like a mirror to their self-doubt. Think about this. When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ spoke the truth to the Quraysh, they called him a liar. Why? Not because they didn't know he was truthful. They even named him Al-Amin, the trustworthy. But his words exposed their falsehoods, his character revealed their flaws, and instead of reflecting, they reacted with hostility. This is what happens when your principles clash with someone else's comfort zone. People fear what they don't understand. And instead of seeking clarity, they label, judge, or distance themselves. Why they react this way? Let's be honest. We live in a world where most people play it safe. They avoid confrontation, stay agreeable, and go along with whatever keeps them in their comfort zone. But when someone like you shows up, someone who speaks their mind, holds their ground, and doesn't bend to social pressure, it shakes things up. It's not that you're doing anything wrong, it's that your presence challenges something inside them. Maybe your confidence highlights their self-doubt. Maybe your honesty reminds them of the lies they've told themselves. Or maybe your discipline makes their laziness impossible to ignore. Think about this. How many times have you been labeled rude just because you didn't laugh at a joke you didn't find funny? Or called arrogant just because you chose silence over meaningless small talk? It's easier for people to misunderstand you than to reflect on themselves. And this isn't a new phenomenon. Look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Even before he received revelation, he was known as Al-Amin, the trustworthy. Yet when he stood up against the injustices of his society and spoke the truth, people turned on him. Why? Because his character, his integrity, was like a mirror that forced them to see their own flaws. And instead of changing, they chose to attack the mirror. This is human nature. When people are faced with someone who doesn't conform, who stands out for the right reasons, their first reaction is often to label or reject them. As Muslims, how do we navigate these reactions? How do we stay true to our values without letting their judgments shake us? How to handle misunderstanding with grace? Here's where most people get it wrong. They try to change themselves to fit in. They soften their voice, dim their light, or hide their values just to avoid standing out. But the truth is, you don't need to change who you are. You need to change how you react. When people misunderstand you, it's tempting to get defensive or lash out. But as Muslims, we're taught to rise above. Allah says in the Quran, "Repel evil with that which is better, and thereupon the one whom between you and him is enmity will become as though he were a devoted friend." And this doesn't mean you let others walk all over you. It means you respond with strength wrapped in kindness. Instead of reacting to their judgments, focus on controlling your own narrative. If they call you arrogant, show humility. If they call you rude, show respect. But never let their opinions change your principles. Think about the story of Umar ibn al-Khattab, R.A. Before he accepted Islam, he was harsh, quick to anger, and fiercely opposed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when he saw the truth, when he experienced the patience, the wisdom, and the unshakable character of the Muslims, his heart softened. That same man became one of the greatest leaders in Islamic history. Sometimes it's not about convincing people with words. It's about showing them who you are through your actions. Stay consistent. Stay patient. Let your character speak louder than their criticism. The power of staying true to yourself. Every time you change yourself to please others, you lose a little piece of who you are. You start to mold your personality to fit their expectations. But in the process, you drift further away from the person Allah created you to be. Islam teaches us the value of authenticity. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam never compromised his character. Even when the Quraysh tried to tempt him with wealth, power, and status to stop his message, his response was clear. Even if they place the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I will not abandon this mission. That level of conviction didn't just inspire his followers, it shook his enemies to their core. When you stay true to your principles, you're not just being authentic, you're living with purpose. And that's what intimidates people the most. A person with purpose can't be controlled, manipulated, or swayed. They're a force to be reckoned with. But let's be real. It's not always easy. Sometimes the pressure to conform feels overwhelming. People might mock you for your beliefs, question your intentions, or try to pull you away from your path. In those moments, remind yourself, who are you really trying to please? The people who misunderstand you, or the one who understands you completely? Allah says in the Quran, and whoever puts their trust in Allah, then He alone is sufficient for them. Your goal isn't to be liked by everyone. Your goal is to live a life that's pleasing to Allah, no matter how others perceive you. Embrace the strength in solitude. Sometimes being misunderstood feels isolating, like you're walking a path that no one else can see. But solitude isn't a weakness. It's often where the strongest connections with Allah are formed. The greatest figures in Islam, from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the Sahaba, spent time in deep reflection, away from the noise of the world. Before revelation, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would retreat to the cave of Hira, seeking clarity and purpose. It was in that solitude that he received the first words of the Quran. When people distance themselves from you or fail to understand you, see it as an opportunity, a chance to strengthen your relationship with Allah and rediscover your inner strength. Solitude gives you the space to reflect, to reconnect with your intentions, and to remind yourself of your ultimate purpose. In a world so full of distractions, few things are as powerful as finding peace within yourself and with your Creator. But solitude doesn't mean isolation. Islam is a faith of balance. While you take time to reflect, also seek meaningful connections with those who share your values. Find people who remind you of Allah, who encourage you to grow, and who see your worth beyond surface-level judgments. Together, you can build a support system that keeps you grounded and motivated. Being different is a blessing. Why is being different a blessing? Let's face it. Being misunderstood can feel isolating. It's easier to conform, to blend in, to be like everyone else. But here's the truth. If you're different, It's because Allah designed you that way for a reason. Your uniqueness isn't a flaw, it's a gift. And in a world where most people follow the crowd, being different is a rare blessing. Think about the stories of the prophets. None of them were sent to simply fit in with their societies. They were sent to challenge the norms, to stand out and to deliver the truth, even when it made others uncomfortable. Prophet Nuh, alayhi salam, preached for centuries to a people who mocked and rejected him. Prophet Ibrahim, alayhi salam, stood against the idol worshippers of his time, even when it meant standing alone. Their courage and resilience weren't rooted in the approval of others. They were rooted in their unwavering connection with Allah. The same principle applies to you. If your personality sets you apart, if your presence unsettles people, it's not a sign that you're on the wrong path. In fact, it could be a sign that you're walking a path few dare to tread. And that path, as difficult as it may seem, is often the one that leads to Allah's pleasure. This world wasn't designed for comfort. It was designed as a test. And sometimes the test isn't just in enduring hardships. It's in staying true to yourself when the world wants you to change. As long as you remember who you're striving to please, being different won't feel like a burden. It will feel like the honor that it truly is. Finding strength in your faith. Here's the most important truth. When your personality intimidates others, it's often because you carry something they don't understand, an inner strength that comes from your connection with Allah. This strength isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable, and that's what makes it so powerful. Islam teaches us that true strength comes from the heart. It's not about dominating others or proving them wrong. It's about staying firm in your values, no matter the noise around you. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "The most beloved of people to Allah are those who bring the most benefit to others." When you live with this mindset, focused on pleasing Allah and helping others, what people think of you becomes irrelevant. It's also important to remember that the closer you get to Allah, the more tests you'll face. These tests aren't meant to break you, they're meant to refine you. Allah says in the Quran, "Do people think that they will be left alone because they say, 'Well, we believe,' and will not be tested?" Your journey isn't meant to be easy, but it is meaningful. Every moment of patience, every time you rise above, every step you take closer to Allah, it all counts. So the next time someone calls you rude, arrogant, or too much, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this who I truly am, or is this their inability to understand me? And if you're walking the path of truth, let their words fall away. The only approval you need is Allah's, and as long as He is pleased with you, nothing else matters. As we wrap up, remember, this staying true to yourself is one of the greatest acts of courage. When you face misunderstandings, don't let them shake you. Instead, turn to Allah and say, "Ya Allah, grant me patience and strength to remain steadfast in my faith and values." This dua is a reminder that your journey is guided by Him, and with His help, no obstacle is too great. If this message resonated with you, comment this dua below, "Ya Allah, make me steadfast." Your comment might inspire someone else who's struggling, reminding them they're not alone on this path. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it helps us continue spreading these messages. May Allah bless you for every small action you take to support this effort.